Hey, welcome to my channel. Um, I'm going to start off by saying that I'm going to say something that's going to a lot of people might disagree with or may agree with, depending. It's going to be a little controversial, but I'm just going to put it out there. It's up to you. You're welcome to leave a comment in the comment section, and I do read my comments and I do respond to them all. Um, but just going to say it outright. I mean, we're in the Final Four now, where it's UConn versus Alabama, and of course North Carolina State, one of the Cinderella teams, versus the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, one of the things that comes down to is basically, of course, the matchup I think everyone's looking at basically is Burns versus, of course, Edey. Now, the real question comes down to is how good are these players, basically? Because let's put it this way. I mean, DJ Burns is showing a little bit of what it is, even though he's not a true center, he's a power forward, but he's sort of playing the center. And you've got Zach Edey basically where he's garnering a lot of the attention now. But the question is he? They're pretty much saying that he's not going to be a high draft pick. Similarly, DJ Burns. I mean, granted, Giannis Akatampo basically was like saying like, hey, look, or not Giannis. It was Nikolai Jokic basically saying that hey, DJ Burns looks really interesting. I think the reason why he looked interesting is the fact is like he resembles a little bit of what Nikolai is basically. I mean, like put it this way: they're both big men. Nikolai Jokic, of course, being one of the few MVPs out there, superstar level. But the real question is this: I mean, how long can he last? Because the dude's a big dude. Let's be honest. He's a big dude, but he's not an in shape type of dude like the way Shaq is. He's not. He doesn't have that physicality of Shaq. Does he have the versatility of, let's say, an Elijah one or a Tim Duncan type of person? Yeah, you could say he does have that. But the question is like, if he doesn't keep himself in shape, how long will he last? I think it's probably another 3 or 4 more years before we start seeing his skills declining, unless he starts working on his game a little bit more. I mean, honestly, let's put it this way: his shooting ability is there. It's just his versatility is probably going to go down very quickly. And in the show, in the NBA, the shelf life is 6 to 7 years at most, and some of course go beyond that. But let's put it this way: with Jokic, he's got probably another 3 more years before we start seeing him going down. Now the real question is like, should DJ Burns be a draft pick, a lottery pick? Similarly, should uh, Edey or Edey, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Zach Edey, basically, should he be a draft pick? A lottery pick, I mean, not a draft pick, but a lottery pick. It's hard to say. I don't think they should be high lottery draft picks because one of the factors is they are both big men. Zach Edey, of course, is maybe slower than your normal centers that are out there. He's not as versatile, but he does have that brute force. I think he's one of those things where he does have that capability of developing into a prominent center, similar to what basically DJ Burns as well too. He could develop in there. It depends on what team drafts him and what coach molds him basically, or molds them basically. Because let's be honest, looking at Zach Edey right now and the way he's playing, everything's garnered around him. Everything is basically, the offense basically revolves around him. Let's put it that way. Defensively, he's decent enough, but the offense is revolving around him. I think if anything, North Carolina can like basically contain him. I think then North Carolina can win it this way. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, that I don't think Edey is going to be a huge draft pick, is more so because the fact is he kind of reminds me of someone back in the day, another sort of big guy that had high hopes, high expectations, but didn't do so well. I don't want to say he didn't do so well. I mean, he was average. He wasn't your superstar level. He was average. He became a role player more than anything else. I mean, more so to the point that Edey could be someone of like, basically what the Bam Adebayo is. But in reality is he reminds me so much of, if you remember this guy, Big Country, Bryant Reeves, with the Vancouver Grizzlies when he went to Canada, the Canadian team. there was high expectations for him that he could probably be the one that could challenge Shaq in the center position, but it was a case where he didn't. I mean, he became at best on average or just above average, but not an all-star level center where he could have been. And the question comes down to, was it because of the fact that his skills were never there, or two, like they just never developed him properly, like the way that Giannis was. I mean, Charles Barkley said it best back then. If Giannis was playing back in the 90s and 80s, Giannis is not a star that you see. Basically, let's put it that way. He doesn't become that superstar. That superstar. He doesn't attain that superstardom level that he's achieved right now. I mean, because with the physicality that's going on there, Giannis is getting away with a lot of things. If there was a lot of the physicality back in the 80s and 90s, Giannis probably would never be where he is. Similarly, Jokic probably wouldn't be that same person as well too. So I bring up the point of that fact is with both Edey and not yeah with Edey and DJ Burns from North Carolina State, can these two players basically vault themselves higher into the draft? I personally don't think so. There might be some teams that might say, it's like, hey, we need the center. I don't think they're going to do it as a high draft lottery pick, but they might be both on the low end or maybe in the second round. It's just a matter of what they do at the pre-draft, basically, with when it comes down to how they perform and such. It comes down. I'll be upfront, not upfront. I'll be more so surprised, genuinely surprised, if one of these two guys become a high draft pick. If they become a high draft lottery pick, like top 10, I would be genuinely surprised. If they become get to that star level, I think it comes down to which team basically which organization drafts them, but also the program they're put into to the point where they can develop. And honestly, I don't think it all varies and depends. Basically, I mean, honestly, let's put it this way: if our boy here, DJ Burns, if he were to be drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers, I think he could learn a lot from Joel Embiid and grow with him. Similarly, Edey, if he were to be drafted by, let's say, the Oklahoma Thunder, or even the Spurs for that, if he were to be, if he were, actually, that would be an interesting de facto with Wembanyama and Edey. I mean, Wembanyama would take everything, and if Edey can be the big man inside, sort of be a power forward, it might make them into something, or even for that matter, DJ Burns. But in reality, is it's just a matter of I think Wembanyama needs a true guard or a third wing, basically, so that that he can develop and take a lot of the pressure off of him. But quite honestly, I think it's a case where I don't think these two should be high draft lottery picks. I honestly don't know. To be blunt, I think if you give them 2 to 3 years to develop, they might reach that all-star level, but maybe the tier 2 all-star level, not a tier 1. And also at the same time, Jokic, I think he's got another 4 or 5 more years left in him, and I think that's the end of it, because honestly, I don't think he's going to maintain this level that he's at. Unless Denver gets enough pieces to offload the offense off of him, basically. Because let's be honest, he's not going to be like this, if he's going at the rate he's going. And if you see his workout regimen, I don't foresee anything happening at that point. But I could be wrong. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know your thoughts. What do you think? What do you guys think? And if you want to know my picks, basically, of course, UConn is going to beat Alabama. I think in this situation, I think North Carolina State should be able to beat the Boilermakers of Purdue, because the fact is I think they'll be able to contain Edey to the point where, on the offensive side of things, on the defensive side of things, I don't think so, but they will keep it close. Put it that way. I think the North Carolina State should be able to get into the finals. It'll probably be UConn versus North Carolina. And I think more so that I think it's going to be UConn winning the back-to-back championships again. Hurley showing, his capability. He is that superstar level coach, becoming a great. I don't think he's on the verge of greatness, but he's getting to that point where he's going to be like another Coach K, the Dean, of course, Bobby Knight, uh, uh, Roy, and etc. Basically, to the point where, oh well, he's not going to be at the John Wooden level. Let's put it that way. He's not going to be at the John Wooden level. But if he produces, let's say, 5 straight championships in a row, then I think he brings it to that level. I mean, what no one realizes, or some people forget, is like he is Bobby Hurley's brother, so he has that capability, a mentality of being about in the basketball mindset because his father, of course, being the high school coach, great high school coach that he is, he's got that basketball mindset and he can pick his brain a lot. So he is at that level, and it's where Hurley has gone to for each of his career for each of those positions or each of those coaching positions that he's been at, he's always succeeded. And of course, we see him succeeding with UConn. The real question is will another team try to, or another collegiate college, basically, or university, will they try to recruit him away from UConn? I highly doubt that, but let's see what happens there. But in any case, again, let me know your thoughts. Do you think my analysis is off with both Edey and DJ Burns? Do you think Jokic, also with my analysis of Jokic, Nikola Jokic, basically not probably having a shelf life for another 4 more years before he, I think, peaks and then, or not peaks, but goes downhill from that point? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Not a hater, but it is what it is. And, for me, I'm a Knicks fan, and the way the Knicks are right now, I really do wish the Knicks could have been more better than they should have been. I mean, I wish they had drafted Halliburton over Obi Toppin, but when Toppin came on board, I mean, if you see my earlier videos, you'll see that, yeah, they should play Toppin just to see, because my fear, not concern was, but my logic or reasoning was because the fact is, like, they took Toppin over Halliburton. I really would have wanted Halliburton, but they went with Toppin, so I was like, all right, let's see what Toppin can do. If he doesn't do well, trade him off. I mean, the Knicks really didn't get much for Toppin. RJ Barrett, I don't know if it's going to come back and haunt us or bite us in the butt, but if it does, more power to him. I mean, we came back with OG, so I'm happy with OG at this point. Of course, I think everyone is. Randall, I think he brought that relevance back to the Knicks, and when he brought it back, then, of course, Brunson coming on board, I still, even though others are seeing him like, saying he is at that superstar level, I still think he's not there. He still has to prove himself, quite honestly. I think, yes, he's doing it right now this year, but let's give him another year, or another 2 years. Because let's not forget, players at that level can be good for 2 to 3 years, but after that, then they drop, and then they're not at that superstar level. And case in point, Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway, and as well as there's number of others as well too. I mean, honestly, if 2020 hindsight, I think the Knicks should have traded for Donovan Mitchell, when they had a chance for RJ Barrett. Probably could have gotten him. With him and Brunson, it might have been a different story. If they had Halliburton, probably never would have went for Brunson. They probably then would have made that trade for Donovan Mitchell. With Mitchell and Halliburton together, it might be a different story. And they probably could have gotten OG as well at that point as well too. So the OG, Mitchell, Halliburton, with Randall like playing the offset, I mean, it works out. And to the point of, like, talking about centers again, like Mitch Robinson, he was your typical center, but he didn't have that skill set. But he's showing that he is that big man that's needed on the center to block the lanes, as well as get those rebounds. Now, if they can get another power forward in there or someone else that can get those rebounds as well too, that'd be great. But that's not happening. So it's one of those things where Mitch Robinson is needed. But look, put it this way: if Zach Edey is made available for the Knicks in the 2024 draft, I say then, and not they have a few picks, but if they're in one of those picks that they're available, not their highest pick, but one of those other picks, they have the ability to pick them, I'll draft them. Hey, if they have the shot with Edey and DJ Burns, go with DJ Burns. I would go with DJ Burns and Edey too at the same time. Get them both, and let's see what happens. If anything, worst case, you could trade one of them out anyways at that point too. Swap them. and go from there. I mean, McBride is doing really well, so use those two, one of those two, as draft capital to get more draft capital, or maybe bring back another swingman or another shooting guard. But anyways, I'll leave it at that. Again, if you enjoy my content, enjoy my videos, enjoy my channel, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And again, as I mentioned, if you have any thoughts on my statements, I welcome comments in the comment section, and I do read them all, and I do respond to them when they warrant a response. You're welcome to troll at that point as well too. I mean, honestly, like I said, it's one of those things. Like I said, Jokic, it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. Similar, seeing what Edey and DJ Burns, when they come and get drafted, if they do get drafted, will they be in the second round, or should they be high lottery picks, or at least first round picks? Put it that way. I mean, Edey reminds me of a little bit of, like I said, Bryant Reeves. If you remember Bryant Reeves, back when the Vancouver Grizzlies drafted him. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.